let's look at Hector and the Search for Happiness.
Yes, this is the new film to star Simon Pegg, who's, as an actor, I think his reputation is built on a couple of roles I think it's probably fair to describe as legendary. He was Tim Bisley in the sitcom Spaced, and Shaun, of course, in Shaun of the Dead. And he has this reputation for playing kind of lovable, down-at-heel geeks. And the director who he absolutely marries up with perfectly is Edgar Wright. And Edgar Wright seems to draw something out in Simon Pegg that I think other filmmakers have real trouble with. And actually, in a lot of Simon Pegg's recent work, I felt that the roles he's been playing has actually, not as part of the intention of the film, but have actually been pretty broadly dislikable. I think the role that he plays in Hector in The Search for Happiness is the most dislikable character he's played so far. The film is based on a self-help book by a psychiatrist who's called Francois Lelord, and it's about a psychiatrist who decides that there's something missing from his life. So he goes around the world to discover what it is that makes people happy. And I think we've got a clip of that to listen to right now.
I need to get away. Take a trip. I'm not making my patients any happier, and I need to do some research.
On what?
Happiness. So I can help. Look at my life, Clara. I feel like such a fraud. Like an armchair traveller dishing out worldly advice.
When?
Soon. Very soon. Now.
Yeah, there's no way I can get the time off. I mean, not now. Not at this time of year.
I know. I'm sorry. Okay, I'm sorry. I really, really am. Will you be here when I get back?
How long will you be gone?
I don't know.
Then I can't answer the question, can I?
So, 2 alarm bells should have started ringing during that clip. The first one is that this sounds quite a lot like Eat, Pray, Love, and it's going to be a middle-class person jetting around the world to find out what makes poor people happy. And the other alarm bell is that essentially this is, he's leaving behind his girlfriend in London to do the quest by himself. So he's going to come up as being a very selfish character. Simon Pegg, he's used to play these lovable geek characters, and the film presents Hector as a lovable geek. He wears a bow tie, he has Tintin books, he's socially awkward, but actually when we see him at work, he's a psychiatrist, he's kind of belittling his patients, he's doodling in his notebook, and the character that he reminds you of is Patrick Bateman from American Psycho. This guy is a total sociopath. He sits and he earns enough money to have, my goodness, the nicest apartment in London with a view of the Thames, his and hers IMAX, his and hers toweling robes. He comes up with the idea for this Search for Happiness while he's sitting beside Rosamund Pike on these IMAX. And Rosamund Pike, is the kind of girlfriend character that, a Patrick Bateman would dream up. She is a high-flying businesswoman. She is a dynamo in the bedroom.
OCD.
The job that she has, she's able to support Hector in whatever little things he wants to do. She makes loads of money. She gets drunk. She's one of the lads. She tells dirty jokes. She walks around in her lingerie on Skype. You think, who's coming up with this stuff? Who thought this would be a plausible character?
That's what I do.
Hector rejects all of this, of course, and off he goes on this quest around the world. He visits 3 places on his route. He goes to Shanghai, he goes to Los Angeles, and he also goes to a place called Africa. And we never hear any more specifically, it's just Africa. It's Africa because it's got a lot of poor black people in it. The film doesn't want to elaborate on it particularly, and it's catastrophically, accidentally racist in its portrayal of Africa. It makes basically everyone in Africa is either starving or
That's not
in
true.
a militia. No.
That's not true. That's so not true at all. When he comes out of that situation that he sort of finds himself in, it's not like a comic relief, documentary that he sort of falls into.
No, but the only reason, you're talking about the third group of Africans that he meets, of course, when he's freed finally from this militia, are this enormous family who all stand around in the kitchen singing and dancing and cooking sweet potato stew. It's just grotesquely stereotypical. In Shanghai as well, he goes on a night out and meets this young, attractive woman who, of course, inevitably turns out to be a prostitute. And then the following day, he goes out for lunch with her, and she's beaten up by her pimp as a result of having fallen for Simon Pegg's character. And Simon Pegg looks at this spectacle and thinks, do you know what? The secret to happiness here is that happiness is not knowing the full story, and then wanders off, leaves her, but we never find out what happens to this girl. We never see her again. The film is not interested in the characters that Hector meets beyond this kind of glib wisdom that they can impart to Hector about what the secret of happiness is. Once they've served that purpose, they're shuttled off to one side.
That's because the film's not about those characters. The film's about his character.
But it shouldn't pick them up and drop them in the way it does. And it's the same in Africa. You know, he meets these, he arrives in Africa, and when he's in this family's room, he's kind of ogling the family's daughters over this sweet potato stew, which mysterious. I mean, sweet potato stew, my goodness, you know, this is the kind of thing that you make with the stuff that's left over in your fridge if you've forgotten to go to Morrison's on the way home. But he treats sweet potato stew as, oh my goodness, this amazing delicacy from Africa we've never heard of. Sweet potato stew, must write this down in my book. So this is one of his big tips for happiness.
Were you like in a really foul mood when you turned up to see this film? Because it's, I don't know, it's, you know, I went in to see this film with a, I don't know, I wasn't having any expectations of what it was going to do to me, but it seems like there's a, I don't know, there's a lot of depth going into how you've looked at it in terms of rather than, I don't know.
I mean, I've looked at it as someone who doesn't want to go in the cinema and see the entire world being patronised by a rich white guy flying around. One of the first things he does when he leaves Africa is he buys a first-class ticket on the plane. He writes in his book, oh, great, first-class ticket in the plane. That's the secret to happiness as well. And it's just so monumentally unaware of its own awfulness. You know, the film is totally morally corrupt, and there's nothing in there at all that's of any value at all. Honestly, this is the worst film I've seen this year.
Whoa. Did you see The Other Women or Blended? Come on.
No, I mean,
really?
this is
Seriously?
those
Come
films
on.
are totally, they're kind of innocuously bad, but this is offensive. It's worse than Eat, Pray, Love. It's Eat, Pray, Love for the kind of man who talks about the friend zone and complains that women aren't nice to nice guys. It's incredibly entitled and about men going out and getting whatever they want from the outside world and just taking it and running off and forget the people they've been in touch with.
Well, I think we saw a different film.